All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. That's right, of the London is Blue podcast. Hopefully, favorite Chelsea podcast out there and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network. Nick and Dan here coming at you in the international break. That's right, Chelsea's men's team have not returned to duty yet. The Chelsea women did have a unfortunate draw against Liverpool over the weekend that, didn't necessarily put us in the best of spirits. But this episode, we will be talking a little bit about a check-in on the men's team, Nick, because we are just about a third of the way through the Premier League season. We are getting into competitions now. We're getting deeper into competitions. And we just want to zoom out a little bit because typically we do the match review, we do the match preview. It puts you into a mode of just a very micro examination of what's going on with Chelsea in that exact moment. But this international break gives us an opportunity to pause, to zoom out a bit, to take a look at the holistic performance that Chelsea has delivered, maybe compare and contrast against the prior season, take a look at who's performing, who isn't performing, evaluate some of the signings in a way that we don't typically get to do during a traditional match review or match preview.
Yeah, and again, it's the number of international breaks that have happened at the start of the season have meant it's been a rocky road for almost every single team in the league. I mean, we'll talk about the standings and everything, but it's been real stop start. If you're a Premier League team that has a bunch of players that go on international duty, which most Premier League teams do these days, even the teams kind of at the bottom of the table will have a few internationals as the ramp up to the World Cup gets close. And I don't know if anyone saw the Ireland v Hungary result today. Like, there's some real important football being played in those kind of playoff matchups that are coming up too. It just, I think, adds a whole little twist to the tale, and it sets up what I think is a really interesting long stretch of football without an international break. I think the next one's in early March. So that you have a little bit of a Premier League winter break, and it's basically all football all the time from here until March. So very excited for the team to be back, but also I think it's a critical look at where we are and where we need to be to kind of reach where our goals were.
So let's take a little bit of a view back, Nick, just in the way back machine, in the time machine here. It's the 11th game week of the 24-25 season. Chelsea are in third position in the Premier League table, 19 points. And then we fast forward to this season, 11th week, in third position, 20 points, 1 point better than we were last season in the same amount of fixtures here. Obviously, we've played some different teams, so there's some compare and contrast differences here. But I think that's how I want to kind of set the stage and frame it. Like, we'll get into like specifics around some of those matches and two. I do know that you want to call out one specific thing though before we get into that deep dive, and that's just over 20 plus people are joining us on a trip for London, to enjoy the Aston Villa game, the Bournemouth game, the trip up to Man City. But we do want to kind of set maybe a little bit of a hard deadline just to kind of express interest, get involved there, because our friends at Excel Tours are finalizing all those ticket purchases. They need to kind of get ready there. So is it a Thanksgiving date, a Black Friday date? Is that what we're looking at here?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think just in the next couple of weeks, if you are going to join the trip, it'd be helpful to know that. I mean, we have had people join right up until we left before, just if they can get time off work or get a break around the holidays. So we totally get that. But yeah, if you're really looking at being a part of the pre-trip communications that are going to start in the next week or so, that is the right way to do it. We have set the live show date that we're going to do at Classic Football Shirts on the 29th of December. Will hopefully be a rousing good time right before the new year, right before the Bournemouth game, and are getting our plans for Manchester and the City matchup, which looks pretty tasty right now when you look at the Premier League table, second and third in the Premier League table. So lots going on, setting our New Year's plans, getting our holiday market plans in order. So if you have joined, great. We love you. Fantastic. You'll be receiving communications soon. If you have not joined and you are still thinking about it, send us an email at contact@londonisbluepodcast.com and we will get you set up.
All right. So again, just a reminder on how we were doing in that 24-25 season. So, again, that first 11 game stretch for us then, and that started with a 2-0 loss to Manchester City, had the 6-2 win against Wolves that is very, very memorable for, I think, all of us, including Nani Madueke. Yeah, the draw against Crystal Palace 1-1, a 3-game winning streak against Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, a draw to Nottingham Forest, the 2-1 loss to Liverpool, and then a win over Newcastle 2-1, and then draws against Manchester United and Arsenal. You advance to this season, Nick, and you have a couple more losses, but you also reduce down the number of draws, which is why we're in the position we are, because you get the +3, you get the 2 extra points. So we start the season off with the draw against Crystal Palace. We get the wins over West Ham and Fulham, the 5-1 and 2-0, the 2-2 versus Brentford. A little bit of a slump then, the 2-1 loss to Manchester United, the 3-1 loss to Brighton. But then we rebound. The 2-1 win over Liverpool, the 3-0 win over Nottingham Forest to help end Ange's run at Nottingham Forest. You had the 2-1 loss to Sunderland, which I guess looks better in retrospect after Arsenal struggled with them. And then you had the 1-0 win over Tottenham, and then the 3-0 win against Wolves. So, I mean, if you're just looking 24-25 to 25-26, very similar in terms of the total points, similar in the kind of the constructions of the wins. How are you feeling now looking at holistically this 11-game stretch, and maybe comparing it to last season?
Well, I think when you look at this year's, what really stands out narratively is the fact that we played with 10 men for many of those games, whether for a couple of minutes a piece or for whole matches, basically, right? And so the discipline in this stretch, the fact that Chelsea are where they are, despite all of the discipline issues that we have come across, is I think heartening. Like you'd have to say, like you got through a pretty brutal stretch, and hopefully that was it, and we don't have to worry about the red cards and the nonsense anymore, and silly double yellow cards and all the other stuff that are going on. Like I think that is good. And I also think like it's indicative of a team that has made it through the first third of the season after playing an extraordinary amount of football last year, including the Club World Cup, having a bunch of players get injured right away. Your number one center back injured, your number one player overall in Cole Palmer injured for basically the entirety of the season so far. You've had players in midfield not be as fit as you'd hope. A lot of different center back pairings, as I talked with Matt Law on Friday, especially in these kind of condensed like 7 games between international break sorts of moments. So I feel okay about where we are. I think it's been incredibly inconsistent, but it's not been detrimental to this point. And I believe that Chelsea can build some consistency in this block that we know is coming up. That's going to be a hell of a end of November, December, to hopefully start to play their best football.
Yeah, all I think important things is, again, if we can just push forward into this next run of fixtures, potentially stabilize ourselves in that top 3, potentially push into, look, it's not like there's a big gap between us and Arsenal at the moment, like there was with Liverpool and any other team last season. So this is, you could argue, a little bit more competitive than it was last year at points in the season. I do think maybe the other thing to consider is that there are just a couple areas where we are improved. So if you're just looking and saying, well, wait a minute, we're in third position, we only got a point better. There's some results that kind of look terrible for us, right? Like losing to Manchester United versus drawing against them in last season. So like season over season, worst performance against Manchester United, which feels very, very terrible. We're going to eventually help that guy who hasn't got his hair cut because they have won 5 games in a row for like like a year and a half. So ultimately, Chelsea are better shots on target. So we're actually creeped out in the league. We're at 38.2% compared to 34.4% across all of last season. We have played effectively like 29% of all of the Premier League games so far. Yet we have scored 35% of last season's total league goal. So actually, like, we're trending on a better level to outperform our goal total. Our goal total per game right now, 1.91, which if you kind of compare that to last season, 1.68. And again, this is without Cole Palmer most of the season so far. This is with Moises Caicedo, rediscovering that he is in fact a striker, just happens to masquerade as a midfielder for quite some time. And then if you look at the goals against, we were conceding 1.13 per game. We let through 43 last season. We've let through 11 this season, but that's actually putting us at 1.0 flat per game that Chelsea are conceding. So actually in your like two biggest categories, I think, for determining success, which is, are you scoring goals and are you letting fewer goals in? We actually are improved over that 11 game mark in both categories. And I guess I would just ask Nick, is that surprising to you when we kind of take a look at the macro that Chelsea had improved in these things, considering some of the injury situations we found ourselves in?
Yeah, it's interesting because like I think on stats it looks better. Specifically, we talked before the season started that if you wanted to be in that top four in what was going to be an incredibly difficult season, all of the considerations that we all know, you had to score more goals. You had to be more clinical. And so far, better, right? Not perfect, but better. And that is definitely a good trend line that we're seeing. I think if you would take like the vibe score of Chelsea fans week to week, maybe it doesn't feel like that much progress, but it also, you have a couple of like really key victories in here that I think have been extremely helpful in kind of like steadying what was a very rocky period. The match against Liverpool obviously was incredibly critical, and the win against Spurs was really, really required for where we were in the table at the time, because that was coming off a loss to Sunderland. That the Liverpool match was coming off of two consecutive losses in the league. So Chelsea have kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, but I think the fact that the defensive record is thereabouts, and the attacking record is slightly better, portends well for getting back some key players. And I'm mentioning, the likes of Benoit Badiashile in that from a defensive standpoint too, not just, the attacking talent that we know has been out for most of the season. So the fact that you're doing that without Cole Palmer, without Liam Delap, with, kind of a mix at winger, and trying to get, your left wings, solidified, and trying to figure out who's going to play in the number 10, behind mostly Joao Pedro for the start of the season. Contextually, it feels good, and hopefully you get all these pieces back and you start to get into like that, really like that 2.25 goals a game. You're really cooking with gas at that point.
Well, let's take our first ad break. When we get back, I do want to start to take a look at a little bit about the specific players, just in terms of maybe who's exceeding their expectations relative to where they were last season. Again, some injuries are creating a little bit of changes there, but it might surprise you. We're pulling from SofaScore who some of those top performers are in the Premier League over the first 11 games. The second one, I think, on the list is going to surprise a lot of people. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Nick. So if we flip back again, a little look down memory lane, 24-25, no surprise, Cole Palmer, 7.63 average sofa score rating across the entirety of the Premier League matches Chelsea played last season. Enzo Fernandez in second place, 7.31. Moises Caicedo, 7.24. Marc Cucurella, 7.05. Then Trev Chalobah also at a 7.05. So that was your top five across all performances in the Premier League. This season, I don't think it's a surprise who's number one, right? Like, I think that Moises Caicedo at a 7.45 is, without a doubt, I would say, the current player of Chelsea's season. Would you have a differing view on that?
If he keeps going like he's going right now, he will be top 5 Ballon d'Or. That's where he'll be at the end of the season.
Whoa. Okay, Sam, clip that one for later.
No, it's no bull. I mean, he is unbelievable. He is the best in the world. If he ends up with 9-10 league goals this season and beats the tackle record, like what do you do? He's incredible. He's doing everything.
Well, I mean, he's, across all competitions, he is at 5 goal contributions, so 4 goals and 1 assist. I mean, he is trending into a category just in terms of like his total performances. I mean, again, like this ties his league total. Actually, at 4 in the league, 3 goals and 1 assist. It is at 4, matches his first season at Chelsea, which was 1 goal and 3 assists. So 4. He's just inverted the number there. But it is effectively, his kind of best opportunity here to exceed beyond that, kind of across all competitions here. At 5, he's really matched that actually in the last 2 seasons with Chelsea, because he had 2 goals and 3 assists the prior season, and so now he is actually every season for Chelsea. He has 5 goals, assist contributions. So like he at now 16 games played, 13 total appearances, almost 1,300 minutes. He now has matched what he accomplished in the entirety of those 2 last seasons, of which one he played close to 4,000 minutes, and in one he played 3,700 minutes. So to your point, unprecedented level of output for him this season, and long may it continue.
Yeah, at like 75% health.
Yeah, that's actually. I mean, you're finding ways to make it more impressive with everything that you say about just how good Moises Caicedo is.
Don't trust my word. Just look at him week to week and revel in the glory, because he is. I mean, he's just one of those guys. Like it should be on everybody's FIFA All Pro 11. He should be on the Premier League team of the season. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to screw him out of it because he plays for Chelsea, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Like anyone who knows ball knows that he is that guy. He is a destroyer of worlds. His anticipation, like I rewatched the Spurs assist where he closed down 3 different spaces between a Spurs passing triangle, gets the ball, passes over to Joao Pedro for the game-winning goal. It is remarkable to watch. It is someone who just has the knowledge and the anticipation and the physical gifts to put it all together in a package, and then has the final ball after
Yeah.
all that. And you could forgive him after all the effort that he puts forward on just that one play that maybe the final ball isn't right. No, it's perfect, and it's an assist. That he's a remarkable player, and it's a scary proposition to think about when you get someone like Cole Palmer back, you get someone like Levi Colwill back in the team, Reece James at the peak of his powers. This team could just be really, really special if they're all healthy at the same time for an extended period.
I'm going to guess that most listeners are thinking, okay, the second player probably is Reece James. It's probably Enzo Fernandez. Maybe in a shout, it's Pedro Neto. Reece James is 3rd, 7.24. Pedro Neto, 7.20, 4th overall. Enzo Fernandez, 7.08 on SofaScore. Actually, Trev Chalobah, 2 seasons in a row, 5th place, 7.19. Garnacho, 7.35, is the second highest rated player on SofaScore for Chelsea. Now, again, we're going to contextualize Nick, because I think it's an important element to throw in here. If you're just looking at the Premier League, he's only at 343 minutes played across the first
Correct.
11 games. But, I mean, he has appeared in 6 of the 11. He has started in 5 of those games. So that does mean that he has played in over 50% of the matches. So it qualifies him in the way that SofaScore looks at this. He has 3 goal contributions. He has the goal and 2 assists in 343 minutes. That is highly productive if we're talking about like just with the minutes that someone has played in the Premier League this season. He tops the list for Chelsea, 0.79 goals and assists per 90 minutes in the league for us. Again, very, very small sample size, 343 minutes. You're hoping for a little bit more of a substantial number, close to that kind of 1,000 number to really kind of guide you there. But like this is a very strong start for a player who came in and had just a little bit of a lightning rod type of conversation around him. There was a very polarizing figure. You either loved him or you hated him, or if you were Fabrizio Romano, you just enjoyed the fact that you could tweet about him 3 times a day to get the engagement. And now we're in a situation here where I think we're enjoying watching the way he tacks, watching the way he drives in the box, and definitely is maybe not the signing of the summer, which we'll talk about shortly, but I think is looking to be a better and shrewder signing than what he was being billed at during the summer window.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how he develops relationships with, the different components that are still yet to really play in the attacking lineup. I mean, Liam Delap's just getting back into the team. Cole Palmer, hopefully, we'll see sooner rather than later. And then you have all the permutations that we've seen. Is it Joao Pedro at number 10? Is it Pedro Neto at right wing? Is it Big Steve in the middle? Is it you know, Gittins going out right? Is it Ty George up top? Like, I think he still has some relationship building to do, but what we have seen is his like patented get to the byline, cross the ball into the right area. And, it's going to be up to the other players on the team to understand what he does really well and react to it and crash those areas with regular effect because it's really, really hard to, especially against these like low block teams, find those spaces, right? The timing does have to be just right. But he is a guy that so far it looks to me like can beat at least one guy. I don't think he's necessarily like beating everybody for pace all the time or trickery necessarily, but it looks like he can beat one guy and put the ball where it needs to be. It is up to everyone else to crash and score it. So maybe more assists than goals this year could be something to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to be fair to Garnacho, I mean, if you're thinking about just who he is as a player, kind of what he's done in the Premier League over the last couple seasons, I mean, he was at a total of 8 last season across 2,200 minutes for Manchester United, 6 goals and 2 assists, and then the season prior, which was his hallmark for a league season, 11 goals and assists, 7 goals, 4 assists. Like we're kind of in a situation here where he ultimately could do some damage if he gets an opportunity across the entirety of the season here for us. Just in terms of that list, though, is there any player that you're surprised maybe has not kind of gotten running or has maybe overperformed your expectations for the start of the season?
I'll be honest, and everyone knows that my love for Trev Chalobah. I do believe that he is on his day and an elite defender and is a better passer than people give him credit for. I don't think he's had a blazing start to the season, so I'm a little bit surprised that he is fifth on the list. I think I would have probably put someone like Enzo Fernandez or Big Steve or even someone like Malagusto, frankly, who's I think had a pretty decent start to the year in those roles. But I do think when you have how many clean sheets to this point in the season, one, two, three, four, five. You have five clean sheets. It probably factors into the overall score. And so my hope is that Trev finds some consistency with the partnership, especially in the league fixtures, and can really start to reestablish himself in a way because I feel like the whole back line has struggled with the various ins and outs of partnerships. So yeah, and I'm a little bit surprised that Josh is all the way down at 9, tied with Mark Cucurella. So that's a compliment to him. But I feel like Josh has been really, really good when played, but probably hasn't played enough really to
Yeah.
like get that grade.
And I think if I were just looking at maybe who's been firing, obviously I think the names are pretty much aligned actually with that Sofa Score rating list. I mean, it makes sense to me that Pedro Neto, who I think again is someone who has been leggy at times, but has shown up to contribute a fantastic goal before the international break as well, which was very very nice to see and celebrate. I think to your point, Reece has been extremely well managed, and I think that is something that like we've seen the articles, we've seen the reporting, we've talked to it, extensively about it to our friends like Matt and Ben, just around what he's been doing differently to approach this season. But you're at a moment here for Reece James, where he's at 709 minutes in the Premier League across this kind of first set of games here. That's 11 appearances, 7 starts. You go back 2 seasons, he had 10 total matches played in the Premier League with 5 starts. This last season before that, he had 19 appearances and 12 starts. So like he, in 8 more matches played and in 5 more starts, he will match those numbers from last season. And he really needs to only eclipse, 1,100 minutes to have a better season at 3 goals and assist contribution in the league. That's his best return season since 21-22, where he had the 14 goals and assists, the 5 goals, nine assists, and matches then, or rather ties his second best, which was that 2021 season where he had 3 across the entirety of the competition. So, like, this is a return season for Reece James right now. And knock on wood, whatever kind of thing we need to do to just make sure that he's protected from all the elements, the spirits, whatever it is that would be coming for his hamstring or his ankles or whatever it might be. Like, this is a really strong season for him. And across
Yeah.
all competitions, like last year, I mean, he only had 4 goal and assist contributions across the 27 matches played, 18 starts, 1,500 minutes. So, like, he is already kind of returning to being a great defender, getting involved in the midfield and finding volume in attack again, which like guides me towards a belief that, like, I don't know if he's going to replicate that 21-22 season, but boy, oh boy, I think he is going to be somewhere between his best prior season before that, which was like, 6 in terms of total contribution, and the 16. Like, I would definitely put him as achieving in that bracket this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, just like knock on every piece of wood that you have that he stays healthy because he is just he is magic when he is healthy. If you saw the whirling dervish almost assist that he had for England over the weekend, you would see that the confidence is back. Like the confidence in his body is fully back. He's been smart with the way that he's managed his body. I think the club have been extremely good to try and kind of nurse his health along over the last couple of years after a really difficult spell. And you're also starting to see the leadership at a more regular clip as well, which is kind of an intangible thing, but an important thing for a young team that doesn't necessarily have that like old head in the group to keep everyone on track. So I'm really excited for where he could go this season. I mean, if he ends up playing 75% of our Premier League games this year, it'll be uh, you just feel like it will do nothing but help our overall position. He's really really special.
Well, look, we were going to take our last ad break. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about those signings, those individuals who joined the team, and how they have been contributing and helping this team exceed maybe some expectations, in performance wise, at least. And so stay tuned. Be right back. All right. So we did want to caveat when we talk about summer signings, just because we have to kind of, again, we had a bit of weird summer, winning the Club World Cup, becoming champions of the world. We do things differently at Chelsea Football Club, Nick. And so summer is a very broad term when you talk about Chelsea. It's got a lot of definition, a lot of nuance there that we need to consider. And with that in mind, when you go to transfer market and take a look at just like who were the incoming players, includes João Pedro, includes Jamie Gittins, Garnacho, Estevao, because he finally got registered as a player, Hato, obviously, Liam Delap, who came in during the Club World Cup, but gets registered fully with our league and team this season. Sugo, Sar, Paez obviously signed before, but finally got a chance to be registered for Chelsea because we, hit the kind of age threshold for registering him. And then Bonanote coming in on that wonderful loan at the very, very end of the window there. So just that's the complement of players that came into Chelsea. Those are the individuals who are finding an opportunity to help us perform, exceed. Is there one on there? Are you kind of crowning a new signing of the summer, first third of the season?
I mean, it is really 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 hard to look
Wait, wait,
past.
wait. Okay, let me ask. Are they from Brazil? Can I narrow it down to two?
Yeah, yes, they are, and the youngest of those options in Big Steve. I mean, he's just compelling as hell, man. Like, there's no other way to put it. He is must see TV. He is playing with a freedom and an excitement. Obviously, scores again for Brazil over the weekend. He's a rocket ship. He's an absolute rocket ship. I did all these Chelsea and South America specials with Justin Knapp last year in the build up to him joining Chelsea, and we talked about how much time he would need to adapt, and the slow rolling. Would he even play the first handful of weeks of the season? Not only has he played, he's been contributing at an extremely high clip. He's been filling in our creativity, sort of creative playmaker role for Cole Palmer, which is an extraordinarily high compliment to give the young man. He is exciting the bridge in a way that only Cole Palmer can really do on his day. And I just I know I've said multiple times, don't put too much pressure on this kid, don't put too much pressure on this kid, don't put too much, say it 50 times. I love watching him. I love watching him. I know, that he will make mistakes. He is a young guy. He will go through tough periods because, opposition teams will learn how to scout him better than they have right now. But as far as like a definitive signing of the season for me, I know we made this the signing a couple of years ago, and he joined just this summer. It's hard to look past. I just I smile every time I see him on the team sheet. So that is a vibes and output perspective from Nick Verlani.
Again, it's not a bad pick, I think, in any way, shape, or form when you're talking about just, again, players that are performing at a high level, particularly those who came in during the summer window or registered during that summer window. So, yeah, again, I think Estevao is going to win it for the majority of people. I think Joao Pedro still ends up being a really, really good shout. Again, on 7 goals and assists across all kind of performances there that we've had. I mean, that leaves you kind of in a really good spot, I think, kind of talking about like what he's done well. He's 4 goals, 3 assists in that kind of time frame. Obviously has 1 red card, has 2 yellow cards. So it'd be nice to see that worked out of his game, in the coming weeks and months. But it does feel as if with Liam Delap back in, with Guiu eventually getting some minutes here, and then also with Cole Palmer coming back healthy at some point here too. Like I do think he'll actually be able to accelerate his performance and his returns in a way that when he was kind of stranded as the lone 9 playing also injured just like everybody else, that he wasn't necessarily always at his best over that like first hot run where then he had the slump. I do think we're kind of seeing a little bit of a return. I think we kind of put ourselves in a situation where, probably fine margins between the two. I mean, if you were just going off of like the overall return, Estevao is at 5, which is like crazy considering it's like 662 minutes. So
Yeah.
I think it's hard to argue against Estevao. I think it's, also very fair to say, people are probably pretty happy with Joao Pedro too. And to say that we're happy with like multiple attacking signings in a window, that's actually a really, really good thing because there have been some windows we have signed some attacking signings, Nick, and it's been like we've looked back at them a year later, 2 years later, and we're like, what were we thinking? But now we have
Yeah, it's
someone
like
like Joao Pedro on 7. We have Estevan on 5. You've got Garnacho who's on 4. Like this is good. This is good that the players we signed are getting involved in the scoring. They're scoring at a higher clip. They're getting shots on target at a higher clip. This is all signs that like things are working and things are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also like a Liam Delapless run of fixtures the entire first third of the season. Obviously the hamstring tear is difficult. He needs to get back and start playing well. I mean, Jamie Gittins had like one moment of glory against Wolves in the League Cup. You definitely want to see more out of him moving forward. And someone like Joel Hatto is going to have a role to play this season. Obviously, I think most of us hope that it is not at left center back again after the experiment against Karabag, but he will need to spell Marco Correa, and he will need to do a very good job because the upcoming run of fixtures that takes us through at least while we are in London, the 4th of January against City is going to require a ton of rotation, something that I spoke to Matt about last week. And, thinking about how you get the right combinations of players in the league and the Champions League is probably the biggest task that Maresca has over the next month and a half, 2 months, is to figure out how to get these guys to gel better together. Now, obviously, not having huge breaks where they're not with the team and training and all that stuff will help. But I do believe that Jarrell Hatto and knock on wood someday Dario Sugo and Gittins and some of the guys who maybe aren't like starters right now will really make an impact because they will need to.
Look, any other thoughts just on this first third of the season for Chelsea? I mean, obviously, we could talk a little bit about the fact that it's hard to kind of compare Champions League versus UEFA Conference League. So, like, it feels very unfair to be like, oh, well, the first couple games we played there, we had one loss, but then all these wins against Panathinaikos and Noah. Like when you're playing teams that are Bayern Munich, Benfica, Ajax, Karabag. Like, I mean, so I didn't necessarily want to kind of throw that one in there. Obviously, we're doing better in the League Cup this season than we did last season. Like, so they're kind of like plus positive points there on just some of our kind of like, cup competitions. But anything else that you were thinking of just in your
Yeah,
grade, your feeling, your recognition, what you're liking, what you're not liking?
the team needs to improve in a number of areas to go on a run, right? And to really challenge. And you think about the discipline thing that we talked about earlier. The team has to be more disciplined in this stretch. You can't leave yourself at a huge disadvantage, players down, whether through yellow card accumulation or red cards. You have to be more disciplined. You have to be more clinical. I think back to the game against Spurs. That should have been a 3-4-0 game, right? It was a 1-0 game that could have went anyway, just on a fluke goal, right? So those two things are critical. And the third thing is, like, when I think about the defensive partnerships and what I was talking with Matt about last Friday, figuring out two distinct partnerships that can work together and have them train together more frequently, because the rotation, I think, is screwing everything up right now. And so that is going to be a critical thing. Those things have to get better. I think in most areas we've been okay this year. But I do want to see us, maybe a fourth thing here is, like, when we have the opportunity to kill a game, we're playing well, right? The ball is moving well. The players are hyped. We score a goal. You got to go get a second, third, fourth in this league, because if you let other teams hang around, especially in the fixtures that we know coming up, we didn't do so great in last year. That is going to leave you vulnerable for a bad result, or a result that might take you out of contention, if in whatever competition you're in. And Chelsea obviously have work to do in the Champions League, right? You got to go kill teams off. So kind of a clinicality thing. It's something that we've done okay with this year. Want to see that ratchet up for sure, because man, I think we've played better than our record at times, and
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to, if you want that record to reflect your play, the only way to do that is either don't let stupid goals in or score a bunch of them at the other end.
I mean, you could argue, just if you're looking at like the XG, in these games, which again is sometimes a terrible way to look at it, but the
Mhm.
XG would tell you we should have won the Crystal Palace game. It would tell you that we should have actually drawn the Brentford game, which was a fair
Mhm.
draw. That we should have lost the United game. That we should have potentially, like, on the balance, the Brighton game could have gone either way. Obviously, that was impacted by some other things too, which made it a little bit more challenging. And then it would argue that actually a draw was pretty realistic for the Sunderland game. Actually, but then on the other side, it would tell you that we should have lost the Liverpool game, that we should have lost the Nottingham Forest game. And so, like, it doesn't always equate out like that. It does also agree that we should have smashed Tottenham for almost 4-0. That did not happen, but just for funsies, like XG, when it does make numbers funny, it does, and it's really great. That's all that to say, I think you're right that this Chelsea team does need to kind of shore up a couple of things. But I generally leave this first third feeling better about like what the team has done, feeling better about, where Enzo Maresca has pointed this team, where at times in games it could be a little frustrating. At times you kind of don't love necessarily the work he's, doing in the moment to moment, but on a macro view, he's clearly achieving with this team. This team is heading in the right direction. We're advancing competitions. He's going to have huge tests coming up here in the next few weeks with Arsenal and and Barcelona in the same week. Like that, you want to talk about what is his next test? It is those two games in a same 7-day window. You get through those two games, Enzo Maresca, you're putting yourself in a position to have a really, really good end run through the rest of the year into 26. If you don't do well in those two games, I think it's going to be putting Chelsea in pretty tough position, both in the Champions League and then also like really vying for a firm top 4 position in the Premier League. Just might be a little bit harder to obtain. Plus, we got to take points off Arsenal in any way, shape, or form. We can't have them winning the league. Like it's just, we have to. It's Chelsea versus the world, but also Chelsea has to save the world sometimes too, and that's what we got to do with this one.
Yeah, I mean, let's just rattle them off. It's Burnley away to come back to Saturday 6:30 kickoff. Just lovely. Love that for us in the States. Barcelona on Tuesday, the 25th, Arsenal on Sunday. So we do get a little bit of a longer break there. So that's Arsenal at home, Barcelona at home, Leeds away, always a spicy fixture, although that should be pretty winnable. Bournemouth away, they are interesting and I think pretty difficult to play against this year. You start to think about just those fixtures in general, like those are going to be challenging for sure. Then you're away to Atalanta in the Champions League, home to Everton, away to Cardiff City in the EFL Cup, away to Newcastle in the league, home to Villa, we'll be there, home to Bournemouth, we'll be there, away to City, we'll be there, Fulham away on January 7th, and Brentford at home on January 17th. So really through January 7th, like those are the 12, 13 fixtures that kind of separate you from getting through the festive period. You get off to a super strong start and it becomes very, very interesting, right? If you're able to get within 3 points of Arsenal in the league, if you're able to beat Barcelona in the Champions League, things become, I think that you start to look at the thing different. That whole congested fixtures is going to be interesting though. Stop it right now. Don't you do it. Don't you.
It's the international break. We're having fun. We're having a good conversation about it.
If we beat Barcelona and Arsenal, you can say it and I will say it with you. How about that?
Whoa. Okay. Let's lock that in, listeners. If you're watching on YouTube, you need to put that one on us in the comments there. But look, that's going to do it for this international break episode. We got more coming your way. We'll do our Burnley match preview. We got another episode with our good friend Matt Law. We'll be talking to our friends from South America to do a little bit of an update there across the international break as well. So more content coming your way, but stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell icon to get notified. Leave wonderful comments as well. If you want to get involved in our free weekly newsletter, the London Blue Dispatch, where Sam writes, you can get the links in the notes or the description for the show. You can also leave 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's always appreciated. A good way to recognize the show. We always appreciate that. And don't forget, you can sign up for our Discord in a free or paid capacity to help support the show as well. But that's going to do for this episode. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.